Hello again, Sun Devil friends, and welcome to this week's edition of Sun Devil Extra with ASU Athletic Director Graham Rossini. I'm Jeff Munn, filling in for Braden Bell on a week that we have a whole lot of exciting news, and we want to get to everything we possibly can. So first of all, Graham, welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
Obviously the news of the week, I want to get into this, is talking about the hiring of Molly Miller as ASU women's basketball head coach. We are going to hear from Coach Miller later on in the Sun Devil Extra program. Take us through the 2-week process. It was a 2-week journey that got you from the start of looking for a coach to hiring Coach Miller. Let's start at the beginning. What were the priorities for filling this job?
Well, we got to the point, maybe towards the end of the season, that we started to anticipate if we need to make a change, what are some of the characteristics that we're looking for. And I do put a premium on leadership experience, somebody that's been in Division I basketball, navigating the complexities that we're living in today, transfer portal, upcoming settlement, the pathway to competing at a high level. And there were maybe 3 or 4 coaches that kind of fit that model. We made the decision to move on right after the season ended. And by that Saturday, there were a number of jobs open. And so it really sped up our process in that we knew we were competing with a lot of SEC and Big Ten jobs that were open. The Big 12 also had several jobs that were opening up, and we knew that other schools were probably going to be valuing the same profile that we were, and so we needed to move quickly. So I made a call to Jamie, my counterpart at GCU, Saturday morning. Jamie's been great over the years. We've done a lot of great things together, and said, hey, I'd like your permission to talk to Coach Miller. She's somebody that we've kind of identified as potential fit for our program, and before we reach out to Coach, would love to get the blessing of GCU, and they were supportive of that. And then I talked to Coach Miller Saturday night. The men were playing Texas Tech at Desert Financial Arena. We had scheduled a quick introductory phone call just to touch base and kind of begin our process. And I think when the phone call was done, we were probably on the phone for about 2 hours. And it felt like it was 2 minutes. And so there was just a great connection out the gate in terms of what she was seeking, if she was willing to move on to a next opportunity, what we were identifying as the fit for Sun Devil basketball moving forward. And then we talked about, family, we talked about recruiting philosophy, we talked about how she plans to lead a program in the Big 12, and it just was a very free-flowing, natural, exciting conversation. And I looked at the phone when it was done. The men's game was over. Wow. It was maybe 2 hours later, and just really got me excited that, hey, we need to continue this conversation. And I think every day since then we've had meaningful conversations on a number of topics, leading to the point over the weekend where we were able to announce her as our next head coach.
And it's exciting on a lot of levels because, number one, the fan base has obviously been very excited with this news. And I could sense, and as I said, we're going to hear from Coach Miller in an interview we taped a couple of days ago coming up in our next segment. You could tell talking to her how excited she is about being here.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's an attribute of some of our most successful coaches. I'll point out Coach Dillingham and Coach Van Niel as the 2 that I've used recently, where I felt like they were pursuing ASU maybe more so than ASU was pursuing them. And the same with Coach Miller. She had, by being in the Valley, had a very good awareness of what ASU means as an institution. She had competed against us very well and won many of those games. And I think anecdotally was kind of aware that, hey, there's a lot here to like. There's a lot at ASU to get excited by. And so as she knew she was going to have the opportunity to move into the Power 4, and Coach really had a place of her choice because she was the hot candidate throughout the nation, she kept coming back to, like, I want to be at ASU. I've got these other opportunities. It's flattered to be pursued by other institutions or recruiters or whatnot, but I want to be at ASU. So in some ways, she's like, "Hey, speed up your process." I don't want to miss out on an opportunity where we made our change maybe after some of the other schools had made theirs, but there was a fire in her eye on, I'm a fit for ASU, and I'm gonna help you with answers to the questions before we even ask them. How am I going to recruit in the Big 12? What am I going to do with my coaching staff to prepare for the Big 12, Power 4, et cetera? How am I going to connect to the alumni community? How am I going to lean on Charlie as a part of the process? She just nailed every aspect of the things that we were wondering. All right, what's her thought on the environment? How does she see herself fitting into ASU at this exact moment in time? Had a chance to join a conversation with her and Dr. Crow, and they had an immediate connection and a rapport. And the message that she shared with him was more of, here's why I know I'm going to be successful at ASU, but also here's what I value about ASU institutionally that's going to help me in recruiting great players, recruiting great coaching staff and support members. And here we are with a terrific outcome, and we got a lot better by Coach Miller joining the Sun Devils. I know that.
Absolutely. And this is, just to put a bow on this, and again, we'll hear from Coach Miller in a moment. You mentioned that the coach was almost pursuing the institution as much as the other way around. It's consistent with what we've seen in the process of hiring Kenny Dillingham. You mentioned J.J. Van Niel, Willie Bloomquist as well.
Yeah.
And I remember that during that process, Willie was making it real clear that he wanted to be a part of things.
Right.
So it's great to see these coaches, established, well-known coaches in their respective sports, come to Dr. Crow and say, I want to be a part of this.
Well, we've talked a lot over the course of this year that it's really important that ASU becomes a destination, and we're seeing that in the eyes of coaches that are wanting to be here, the coaches that are having opportunity to go elsewhere but want to renew contracts and extend in order to stay Sun Devils, and that's really important. I think that's a sign of a healthy department when people have multiple opportunities, but they say, hey, there's something special, or there's unfinished business, or I'm going to be successful in my wildest imaginations here. I don't need to go someplace else to do that. This is the destination. This is the dream job. This is the place where you can be elite in your particular sport while surrounded by an amazing university and an incredible fan base. And so I think Coach Miller is the latest to kind of fit that profile of, she had her pick of the litter. There were a lot of schools that were very interested in talking to her. I'm sure she talked to some of them, maybe declined some other conversations. You'll have to ask her about that. But I know that she wanted to be here. She's ready for this opportunity. She's hit the ground running in ways that's just exciting. It's infectious. Her energy is off the charts. And if I'm a recruit, I could see why people would be connected to her out the gate. Our fans are going to love her. Our letter winners are going to really enjoy plugging back into this program. And we've got good days ahead.
Absolutely. And we'll hear from Coach Miller coming up in just a moment. Graham and I will be back in our final segment. But up next, the new head women's basketball coach at Arizona State, Molly Miller, as Sun Devil Extra continues. Hello again, Sun Devil friends, and we're coming to you from the Weather Up Center here on the ASU campus. I'm Jeff Munn, the radio voice of Arizona State women's basketball. This is a special edition of Sun Devil Extra with Graham Rossini. Graham's not here on camera at the moment, but that's okay because we have some exciting news to share, and we have an exciting guest who actually is part of that news. So I'm not going to hold you in suspense any longer because, among other things, it's about the worst kept secret Tempe's had in quite a while. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the new head women's basketball coach at Arizona State University, Molly Miller. Coach, welcome to Arizona State.
Thank you so much. That was quite the introduction.
Well, I've been practicing it for like about 3 or 4 hours. 2 weeks ago, Arizona State started on the search to find a new head women's basketball coach. Tell me from your perspective, your name was attached, and we'll get into some of the numbers in a minute, but you were mentioned for a lot of openings around the country. What attracted you to ASU?
I mean, when I first spoke to Graham and just hearing his vision for the athletics program in general, it was very inspiring. I like to win, and I am competitive, so I wanted to be at a place where I could do that, and it just spoke volumes to the commitment they had for their women's basketball program and athletics as a whole. So I couldn't be more happy to be a part of that vision.
The track record of success, 4 years, 117 wins in 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, at Grand Canyon, including a 31-win season this year, a 30-game winning streak, and the school's first appearance in the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, that would seem to suggest you're very competitive and you like to win, and we love that. We've seen your teams play because you've played ASU each of the last 3 years, and I noticed right away that one of the hallmarks of your basketball philosophy is pressure defense. And I'm certain that that's something we're going to see a lot of here at Arizona State.
Yeah, I'm pretty convicted to that side of the ball. I mean, I think that's an effort piece is your defense, and we're always going to have relentless energy, relentless effort, just that grittiness about our game on that side of the ball. And then that translates into some fun offense, playing in the open court when you're getting steals. But you know, that pressure and high tempo, when you get kids that buy into that side of the basketball, you can do a lot with your team. And again, I think that's just a heart piece, that side.
Yeah, and it's evident in the way your teams have played over the years. And I think our fans would be interested in knowing, you've been doing this for a while. I mean, 11 years total experience as a head coach? Did I get that right?
Yeah, and it's gone by so fast, and I still feel like I got a lot of energy. I'm on my front nine, and I got a lot of career ahead of me, so I'm excited for the next chapter.
Tell me about the offensive philosophy, because obviously your defense is going to create transition opportunities. So I would assume that a lot of the offensive philosophy starts with transition.
Yeah, it's kind of a positionless system in that standpoint, but it's high tempo when you're generating offense from your defense. But you're going to see a very selfless team out there that shares the basketball. We were top 25 in the country in assists. We were number 2 in the country in field goal percentage. So we do have some offensive firepower to go along with that high-octane defense.
The timing of your arrival here is important because the transfer portal opens, we're taping this on Saturday, the portal opens on Tuesday. Obviously, you've got to hit the ground running.
Yeah, it's like I tell my kids when they go in with a full head of steam in the paint, don't go in there without a plan, So we're going to have a plan set out. We're going to aim really, really high, get recruits on campus. I mean, there's not a better place to recruit than Tempe. So I'm excited to get them here and showcase the brand and the vision that I have.
And also, one of the other important things is to assemble a staff, and I'm certain that that's going to take place very quickly.
Yeah, when you have like a 2-week to-do list, that's probably on day 1, 2, 3, 4, you want to start doing that. So that's going to definitely be in the works here soon.
I have to point this out. Now, your name was mentioned to me a lot over the last couple of weeks. And what I told people was, if Coach Miller comes to Arizona State, it's my feeling she's going to be a rock star from the second she steps on campus, which reminds me of a football coach we hired about 3 years ago. Do you know Kenny Dillingham?
I think we're wired the same, just a little bit. Yeah.
And Activate the Valley, you don't want to steal his slogan, but you wouldn't mind activating the Valley for women's basketball too, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many eyes on our sport right now. What a better opportunity to generate some momentum. Obviously, the Final Four is going to be here next year. It's a growing sport, and I'm excited to be a part of that growth in women's basketball. And I've watched Kenny from afar and just really been inspired by what he's done here too.
What about the history of this program? I'm certain that has some meaning to you as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of my first calls was to Charlie, and I just have so much, and talk about wired being the same. We're kind of wired the same as well. I've got so much respect for what she's done, and I'm excited to integrate her back into the program and get her on campus and pick her brain, and she's a dear friend and really excited to connect.
Well, I'll be honest with you, having been with Charlie for 18 years, when I mentioned the pressure defense, it looks exactly the same as what I saw under Charlie Turner-Thorne. So on behalf of everyone with Sun Devil Nation, we are so excited to have you here as part of the ASU family, including your family, your husband and children. We're just can't wait for November to get here. And it's a very exciting time, and thank you for coming to join us here at Arizona State.
Well, thank you so much. I'm an open door. I can't wait to meet everyone and just connect and get started.
Let me mention very quickly, before we transition into other things on Sun Devil Extra, now would be a magnificent time for you to think about season tickets. You want to get them now, right, Coach?
Yep, sign up.
Because you don't want to be on the outside of Desert Financial Arena when the big games with Coach Miller are taking place. So head to sundeviltickets.com. They'll have all the information on how you can sign up for season tickets. They even have maps that show you the available seat locations for season ticket purchase. The other thing to keep in mind, you're seeing this now through our Sun Devil Radio Network channel. When there is breaking news about ASU athletics, you'll get it here. You'll hear from the athletic director, the coaches, the student athletes. This is always the place to come to hear what's going on in Sun Devil athletics. And tell you what, today, a lot of great things are happening in Sun Devil athletics. We'll continue with more of Sun Devil Extra with Graham Rossini coming up in just a few minutes.
Again, the 2-2 pitch swung on. That's hit high in the air, deep to right field. That one is back. It's gone. It's gone. A walk-off 2-run homer for New Contradas. And the Sun Devils have won the ball game 7-6, and they've won the series 2-1 over Kansas, as Contradas is mobbed at home plate by his ASU teammates.
The voice of the Sun Devils, Tim Healy, calling New Contradas' walk-off home run Sunday to cap what was just by itself a tremendous ball game Sunday at Phoenix Municipal Stadium, but a tremendous weekend. And we're back with ASU Athletic Director Graham Rossini. I'm Jeff Munn in for Braden Bell. This is Sun Devil Extra. There are a lot of things to talk about from the weekend. 2 out of 3, another series win in the Big 12. But let's start with, if you include the USC game on Tuesday, 18,000 people through the turnstiles. That's really awesome.
I think you buried the lead, though. How about the magic of editing from Sean Crespin? You were just at Weather Up. You're back at the Carson Center. Yeah. We've got baseball B-roll. We've got Healy layered on. Like, this is full production here for
And I changed
Sun Devil
shirts.
Extra.
So
how about it?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes, no, to your point. Unbelievable crowd support. You know, baseball and softball. Softball against U of A, really exciting. Almost 6,000 fans combined for those 3 games at Farrington. I think next week will be bigger at Muni with Fullerton coming in on Tuesday, and then we've got the huge weekend against U of A on the baseball side. But another really important series win out the gate in the Big 12 for baseball. And I was at that game Sunday, and you know, it's a long weekend. I needed to get a few things done at home, but I'm like, there's something brewing here that I think we need to hang on for. My son Rhett was with us, and a good friend of ours, Harvey Jabera, a longtime baseball supporter, and we just kept feeling like new was due. And sure enough,
he fouled off like 8 pitches.
It was a great at bat.
To the right.
It might be the most big league at bat any Sun Devils had all year to keep the at bat alive, 2-strike approach. You know, Willie mentioned post game that they had been working with New on a 2-strike approach pregame during BP, and sure enough, he comes up in a situation where he's able to execute, not only keeping the inning going, but a walk off to seal a series win against a really, really good Kansas team. And, you know, out the gate really strong with 2 series wins against arguably 2 of the best teams in the Big 12.
Agreed. And just a quick thought before we transition into other subjects. I said this at the end of the TCU series finale when the Devils hung on. Wyatt Halverson comes in, finally shuts the door, and then you look at Sunday against Kansas. Those are games that a couple of years ago that might not turn out as well. I think it's a real sign of the developing character in that clubhouse.
Well, I look at the TCU weekend and then the Kansas weekend, and we're not playing our best baseball, and we're beating really good opponents in these series victories. And you know, Wyatt Halverson's a great name because he was sick to start the year. He's just starting to find his rhythm, and you know, really solid 3 innings of relief in a weekend where the starting pitching didn't go as deep as they have previous in the year. And so you're seeing new guys step up. We haven't had the full lineup together for most of the season. I think we're getting close to having that, and it's really exciting that there's a will to win. There's a competitive spirit. There's a depth throughout the roster that we haven't had in maybe Coach Bloomquist's first couple of years. But you know, this team's got his personality, it's got his makeup, it's his schedule, and so I'm excited with the early returns and a lot of really fun baseball coming up the rest of the spring.
Devils will be at Utah Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As we're taping this, they would play at UNLV tonight, but the weekend set at Utah, all 3 games on the radio, KAZG Friday at 5, KDUS Saturday at 2, Sunday at 1. Those are Arizona times. Softball plays at Iowa State. Let's transition to hockey. You were in St. Paul for the NCHC Frozen Four.
Yep.
Not the result that anybody wanted, but overall, the first year in the NCHC was a great success for Arizona State, and having Arizona State in the conference was a great success for the conference.
Yeah, no doubt. It's been a great fit, and I just couldn't be more proud of Coach Powers and the job that Sun Devil Hockey did. We were able to talk about them a lot on this show all year, and it's fun to kind of follow the journey of this program. And again, you know, go back 10 years ago, the transition to D1, the ability to get Mullet off the ground, joining the NCHC, being picked 8th preseason and finishing 2nd in arguably the best hockey conference in America. You know, we played very good hockey Friday night, just didn't get a few, I don't know what the hockey analogy is, but we didn't get a few bounces late to go our way. And you know, tip your cap to Denver. It's a great program that's won 2 national championships the past couple of years and advanced to the championship game. But a lot of pride in our hockey program. Took another giant step forward, proving that, hey, we can compete in a very established, very successful conference like the NCHC. And it was fun. You know, Commissioner Weems has been following our journey for years now, and she was obviously very visible last weekend in St. Paul, and just there was a lot of talk about how great it is to have ASU in the conference because of what we bring in from a fan base, from a great desirable part of the country that a number of these schools use for their donor trip or their alumni reunions. and then to just introduce hockey to a new part of the country at a time that's really important for the sport. So tremendously proud. The Frozen Face-Off, its final go-round in St. Paul, it was important that we had one chance to do that, playing in an NHL arena, which was a great thrill. And now it's fun to think about that Final Four Frozen Face-Off coming to campus site moving forward, and a little extra incentive to go compete in the regular season where imagine a year or two from now we're hosting championship hockey in Mullet Arena on the Tempe campus. Could you imagine anything better?
Yeah, it would just be incredible. Gymnastics, they go to the NCAA regionals up in Seattle this weekend.
Yep.
Jay Santos's teams always have this ability to peak right at the right time, and this is the right time.
No doubt, and I had a chance to join the team for the selection show yesterday, and ESPN continue to make an investment in the sport and broadcast the selection show, and they'll have great coverage throughout the regional. Washington's a familiar setting, so the coaches and the players really know that environment very well, and ESPN made an interesting comment on the broadcast yesterday. They said, ASU might be one of the most successful programs in the country that's yet to win a national championship. And I took that as a compliment of we're right there, and you're right, Coach Santos has done a great job keeping us in that national conversation. We're right outside the top 25 right now, going into a really competitive regional up at UW. We host the regional next year here in town, so that'll be something to look forward to. But gymnastics has been a point of pride. We've had a number of Pac-10 and Pac-12 champions, All-Americans. We're finding our footing in the Big 12. Another sport that's got a meteoric rise in the eyes of national fan base, and so excited for them to get a chance to get healthy this week, travel up to Seattle next weekend, and do their thing in a regional.
One other thing we want to cover on the show before we get to close up shop here, and for a listing of everything that's going on in Sun Devil Athletics, if you haven't downloaded the ASU Athletics app, I've got it on my phone. It's got a complete listing of everything going on, not just this weekend, but throughout the rest of the athletic calendar for this academic year. But I did want to get a thought from you about the Ping ASU Invitational.
Yep.
And I pointed out for this reason. This is a championship level event, and fans don't have to pay to get in, if I'm not mistaken. And your student athletes love so many of the events they play in, nobody's there. I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about places like back in South Carolina,
Yep.
all over Hawaii. It would be great to have Sun Devil fans come out and support the team this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Friday morning at Papago, we'll be there at 7:30 for the tee-off and getting the team out the gate strong. It's our only home competition of the season, which oftentimes I forget that as well because we're so spoiled to be in such a great golf community, but there's some great tournaments around the nation, and the Ping Invitational is one of them. And we've got through that cycle where we were hosting the NCAAs, and that's in La Jolla now, but it is the one chance to watch the Sun Devils play at home. There's not a better setting in the Valley, in my opinion, than Papago, and you got Lou's Grill, great chance to get a bite to eat. Unbelievable setting. We're doing Coach Miller's press conference there Wednesday night because Evie's Pavilion is such a great setup, and then you get the skyline of Phoenix, you get the view back in Tempe, and so Friday morning as they get underway in the Ping Invitational, come and join us. We'll be out there. Grab a coffee and a bagel, and let's go cheer on the Sun Devils.
Absolutely. Sun Devil women's golf this weekend in the Ping ASU Invitational. And again, download the ASU app on your phone or go to thesundevils.com. That's where you can find a complete listing of all the events and, more importantly, how to get information on purchasing tickets for the events that they do charge admission to. Graham, thanks for the visit. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, buddy. Always good to be with you.
Same here.
All right.
And thank you for joining us for Sun Devil Extra with ASU Athletic Director Graham Rossini. Stay here with the Sun Devil Athletics YouTube channel. You get all the latest information right here, and we'll see you next week.